I was wondering what a vegan diet might look like if you were on a low carb, high protein, calorie restricted diet. I had gastric bypass surgery a little over 2 years ago, and I've been having trouble staying under 1,200 calories a day while getting enough protein to staying low carb. Very interesting question for someone to ask me. I'm not exactly sure why they did, but I appreciate it that you want my advice because pretty much everything I do, I mention that I'm an advocate of a higher carbohydrate, low protein, low fat diet. But let me try to break down this message really quick. So you just had gastric bypass surgery. What that means, if anyone doesn't know, is the person was probably overweight. And it is a medical procedure where they honestly staple your stomach so that the food, so pretty much they shrink your stomach. They cut off the ability for your whole stomach capacity to put in food, and they just make it like, I don't know, half or just reduce it a little bit so you get fuller quicker. So she had that surgery. And I guess she was advised to go on a low carb, high protein diet. I do not know, or maybe that's just something in your own research you decided to do. But first, let me address that. Maybe you read, the pop culture trendy magazines that are all about paleo and low carb diets, but I debunk those diets and myths on my platforms here on the podcast and on YouTube and everywhere because I do not agree with them nutritionally, ethically, environmentally, sustainability-wise. But I guess you are saying a vegan low-carb diet, but that seems almost impossible. I mean, I know it can be done with things like tofu and tempeh and seitan and sort of processed protein isolate meats. But if you're talking about a healthy diet, which in my opinion is a whole food plant-based diet, it's going to be very hard to actually eat low carbohydrate while eating whole plant foods because the plant foods that I think are most beneficial are things like fruits and vegetables and potatoes and legumes, which are all predominantly carbohydrates. And in my experience, eating a higher carbohydrate, low protein, low fat diet, it makes me feel the best in my own body. It's allowed me to gain over 40 pounds in a 2-year period, not of fat, by the way, of muscle mass, and also stay lean and ripped and feel great. And it's just it's pretty proven. It's so hard to say proven these days because I could probably pull up so many quote unquote peer reviewed, articles from journals that say the positive benefits of a low carb, high protein diet. But to me, those are mainly industry funded studies that honestly do not go in alignment with the scientific research, with the American Heart Association, with all of these huge medical think tanks that have shown that eating more plants and eating less meat, which means eating less protein in most cases, is healthy. So first off, I'm going to say, why are you on a low carb diet? Is there a specific reason that you're on a low carb diet, or is it just what you heard? If it is, I highly encourage you to try the alternative. Try eating more whole plant foods, which is going to bring you more of a high carbohydrate diet. Now that doesn't mean French fries. French fries are not high carb. French fries are fried in oil. I mean a low to no oil, low fat, high carbohydrate, whole food diet. And if you still don't know what that looks like what kind of foods, you can look it up very easily on my YouTube channel or many others to figure that out. And you're having trouble eating under 1,200 calories a day while getting enough. Okay. I don't know enough about gastric bypass surgery. Maybe that's a part of you need to eat a low amount of calories. Your stomach will not explode, but just rip or something. I really don't know. But I am a believer of calories in, calories out. I know that's controversial within the vegan community too, but it is scientifically proven, I'm just going to say it, that if you are consistently eating more calories than you're burning per day, you're going to gain weight. If you are consistently eating less calories than you burn per day, you're going to lose weight. And if you eat the same amount of calories you eat per day, you are going to stay at maintenance. So if you're having trouble staying under 1,200 calories a day, but for some reason you want to be at that place, it seems like way too few calories to me. I mean, my basal metabolic rate, which means if I just laid on the floor all day and did nothing, is burning 2,000 calories, plus exercise and moving around the whole day comes up to 3,000 calories. And then if I'm trying to gain muscle mass, I have to eat more. So I usually eat around 3,500 calories a day, usually minimum, if not more, if I did more strenuous exercise. So I'm going to say, why are you picking that number at 1,200? Maybe you can be actually eating more healthy foods rather than eating unhealthy foods. You eat a higher volume of that, and you're probably going to stay fit and healthy. Also, just consider doing more exercise. If you want to eat more but you're gaining weight, you're just going to have to ramp up your exercise. It's the only way I can think. But, I am biased towards a high carbohydrate diet, as I said, but let's just say for some reason you have a legit reason to go low carb. I don't know what it would be, but I'll answer your question and say, what would that look like? Because I've looked at plans like that, especially for people who are like bodybuilding, who are trying to go low carb to cut for a show and just get like shredded, emaciated, lean. What that looks like is things like textured vegetable protein, TVP, tofu, tempeh, seitan, as I said, and pretty much limiting, and also I bet you could add in things like lentils and quinoa and even beans into a low carbohydrate diet if you're not eating things like fruit and rice, which that sounds terrible to me because I love eating lots of fruit and rice and I'm happy eating those things. I think they're healthy. But yeah, it's just eating the higher protein food. So it's probably eating tons of raw vegetables because those are just pretty much no calories at all. Actually, some of the highest percentage protein foods are things like spinach and broccoli. And you just need to eat so many calories of that, so much quantity to get any legitimate calories, but it fills you up. So it's eating lots of vegetables like steamed carrots or broccoli, spinach, beets, stuff like that. And then also eating high protein foods like lentils, quinoa, beans, tofu, tempeh. But if you want to do that, go ahead. I recommend going high carb, carbing the F up, as Durian Rider says, and honestly, I think you'll meet your weight and fitness goals.